Today I'm going to show you great exercises to start once you've been cleared for exercise by your provider. So just because you've been cleared and restrictions have been lifted doesn't mean you're going to just jump right back into your fitness routine that you were doing before pregnancy. You want to make sure to ease in and take things slowly. So the movements I'm going to show you today are really simple movements, but are great for strengthening full body as well as working balance and coordination. I hope you enjoy these movements, and remember, if anything feels uncomfortable or painful, pull back or just stop that movement altogether.
Okay, dead bug. This will likely be one of your go-to core exercises because it is very safe and effective for most people. So you're going to be laying on the floor. You're going to take a big inhale into your belly and ribs. And then as you exhale, you're going to lower opposite arm and leg towards the floor and continue that exhale as you move that arm and leg back to center. With the other arm and leg, you want to try to keep them still and centered throughout the movement. The key is to keep your back firmly planted onto the floor. So with all core exercises in postpartum, you want to make sure that you're not feeling any bulging or that you're not noticing any coning through the abdomen. If so, you'll want to stop the movement or try to adjust your breathing so that on the exhale, you're really bracing and thinking about zipping up the abdomen. Next up, a shoulder tap bulldog. This is one of my favorite core exercises, but it can be quite challenging. So if in the beginning it feels too challenging for you to hover the knees off the ground, you can just keep the knees down and practice bracing through the abdomen and just moving the arms. So if you do want to try hovering the knees, you're going to inhale with knees on the floor, exhale, lift, and then bring opposite hand to shoulder on each side. Make sure here that you're not letting the hips sway side to side as much as possible. Just maintain neutral, still hips. Okay, so that shoulder tap bulldog really leads us perfectly into this next movement, which is also one of my favorite movements. It's a forward backward bear crawl. This really truly is a full body exercise. You're working hip and shoulder mobility, upper body strength, lower body strength, as well as core strength. In addition, you're going to get a lot of work on balance and coordination. So you can see here that I'm stepping with opposite arm and leg, taking baby steps as opposed to big steps, and trying to keep my hips nice and neutral, in addition to keeping my hips slightly above the shoulders. So go nice and slow with these and really focus on breath. Okay, next we have a knee-assisted plank hold. With all planks, you want to make sure that the hips are tucking under and that the spine is neutral. If that plank hold starts to feel really good and strong to you, you can start reaching one hand out front and then the other. You want to make sure that you're not letting the hips shift side to side, that you're maintaining neutral spine, and that you're not noticing or feeling any bulging or coning in the abdomen. This bent arm prone back extension is not only great for strengthening your back, but is also a really good way to strengthen the glutes and is wonderful for upper back mobility. So you're going to keep your elbows at about 90 degrees, right in line with the shoulders, and then inhale on the floor. Exhale, lift as you squeeze your glutes and shoulder blades together. Make sure that as you're lifting, you're keeping your hands right in line with your ears and that your toes remain pointed. Okay, so we're going to start working on getting our push-up strength back. So you want to start with hands elevated and knees down, and this is just to make sure that you're not putting too much pressure in the abdomen. So again, if you're noticing any bulging or coning, you'll want to stop this movement or make it easier. So it's inhale down, exhale as you push up. And of course, you want to maintain neutral spine. So as this starts to feel easier and you start to feel stronger, you could move into your knee-assisted push-up with your hands on the floor. You want to make sure to try and move through a full range of motion. So that would be chest on the floor, full extension in the elbows. Notice that I'm keeping my wrists right under my elbows and that my shoulders are directly over my fingertips at the bottom. So I'm bringing my chest all the way down and then pushing up on the exhale, all the while maintaining a nice neutral spine and keeping my glutes engaged. Hip bridges are a really simple but very effective way to strengthen hamstrings and glutes. So you're going to be laying on your back with feet firmly planted on the floor. You're going to take a nice big inhale into the belly and ribs. Then on the exhale, you're going to squeeze the glutes, slightly tuck the hips, engage your pelvic floor and lift. You're going to inhale again on the way back down and make sure to fully relax at the bottom. You only want to lift as high as you can maintain a neutral spine, so no excessive arching in the back at the top. If you want to continue to challenge yourself with the hip bridges, you can also try these feet elevated hip bridges. So you would just grab a stool or a chair, place your heels on the edge of it, keep your knees over top of your hips, and then the form is the same. Inhale into the belly and ribs, exhale, engage to lift. And again, make sure you're maintaining neutral spine and only lifting as high as you can maintain proper form. All right, shin boxes. This is an awesome exercise for hip mobility and glute strengthening. So you're going to start in a seated position with wide feet. Then you're going to swivel your knees over to one side, maintaining as close to 90 degrees as possible in the knees. Then you're going to press into the floor, squeeze your glutes, and pop up. You want to try to avoid shifting too far forward and try to think about touching the top of your head to the sky to come up. If you're having trouble popping up, bring your feet in just a little bit closer to your body. So reducing that 90-degree angle a bit, and that should really help. This next movement here is an arms overhead hip hinge. You're going to stand with your feet right under your hips and extend your arms above your head with your arms right in line with your ears. Maintaining neutral spine, you're going to push your hips back behind you, bend your knees slightly, but make sure the shins stay vertical. So at the bottom of this movement, you should be feeling a pretty intense hamstring stretch and a lot of engagement through your back. This is a really excellent exercise for working the entire posterior chain as well as improving upper back and shoulder mobility. Okay, so as this movement starts to feel stronger and more comfortable, you can move on to trying the single leg hip hinge. The form is pretty much the same except that you're standing on one leg. So you want to maintain a nice vertical shin as you push your hips back behind you and keep your back nice and tall and straight. This really works balance, hamstring, hip mobility, as well as back and glute strength. Okay, we can't forget about squats. This is one of our most basic fundamental strengthening exercises. You're going to stand with your feet under your shoulders with your toes straight ahead or just slightly turned out. You're going to move your hips slightly back and then down as you press your knees towards your pinky toes and maintain a nice tall back and chest. Ideally, you bring the hip crease below the top of the knee, but if you feel like your heels are pulling up or you're losing balance or form, if the knees are caving in, just go as low as you can to maintain proper form. Reverse lunges are a really great way to start building single leg strength. So this is very practical for when you need to go up and down the stairs or step up and down from a curb. You're going to step back, keeping the knee under the hip, and make sure to keep the shoulders always over top of the hips. Okay, so now we're going to build upon this reverse lunge. This next move is called kneeling to standing. So you're going to be in a kneeling position, and then you're going to step forward with one foot. Make sure to tuck the toes of the back foot, press down into your back toes and into your front heel to stand up. This is a really safe and practical way to get up from the floor, and likely you'll be spending a lot of time on the floor playing with baby. So this is a really good one to practice in training. You want to keep your shoulders over your hips and knees at a 90-degree angle, so knees stacked over top of the ankles and under the hips.
All right, there were your first few exercises to start after your postpartum appointment. I hope you enjoyed them.